Missing out on all the fun during your childhood because you wanted to be a good son or a good person in general is so common and such a waste of life. On the top of my head, I can count the amount of times I skipped out on a fun night out or a fun hangout because I felt really guilty about having this much fun in front of my hard-working and immigrant parents. The same people that put in the 12-hour days just so that me and my brother could have a roof over our heads. Like, how was I supposed to just walk up to someone like that and be like, yo, Eddie's party tonight, I'll be home late? No, that's fucking horrible. Nothing would put me off from going out with my friends than the thought of my parents working their ass off to give me the life that they never had. As a whole, this is such a counterproductive idea because they did all that so that I could have the freedom to choose what I could do with my day, instead of the choices being made for me. And my sorry ass over here is just paralyzed from guilt. Why is that? I meditated on this idea for a while and I thought about a few things why so many first generation immigrant children feel that way. The biggest reason being that I came up with is the pressure to measure up. You watched your parents spend their lives working double shifts and climbing through the ranks of the immigrant process. We all know what the process is like. We see it happen even now that we're no longer a part of it. It's the same process that drains the lives of so many and something that starts off so innocent and within reach. But as more time goes by, you start to see the reality of it. The process of becoming the citizen of the country you migrated to. You don't have to be aware of the meticulous details of how these masses come from overseas and struggle to begin a new life or even have a chance at a better one. The 7-Eleven worker who works there 7 days a week is also driving Uber in the time that he's not at the servo. The Nepalese toilet cleaner at the mall, that guy is also sending half his minimum wage paycheck to his family back home. This is the reality that so many of our parents face going through this process. My dad doesn't really share that much about the times when he had to do these things. I think deep down he knows that I carry this guilt. But whenever he tells me, like the time when he worked at this factory on cash and after a month of work the guy never even paid him, or when he worked at a restaurant and then would drive to his other work overnight and slept in the parking lot because going home was just a waste of time at this point. This shit still causes deep guilt, bro. I thought I would get used to it. I literally hoped that one day, hopefully, I could take them for granted. Just a little. And be carefree like children are meant to be. Bro, my mom is so devious. This was her way of getting me to agree with her. Or making me do shit that I could have just said no to. She would exploit that guilt. And the funny thing was that I knew when she was doing it. I knew she was reaching in her back pocket and pulling out the "this is what I get in return" card. And I kid you not, even though I would see through that shit as clear as day, I still fell for it. Call me a sucker for being such a pushover, but when it came to that guilt and that guilt being shot up, I do whatever to make that feeling go away. And as I grew past my teens and into my young 20s, I was finally able to see things with a healthier perspective. As I grew older, I developed the maturity to put myself in their shoes and realized that I would do that for my kids any day. Because how else would you want to spend your life if not in the pursuit to make things better for the people you love? In my opinion, that is an even bigger motivator than aiming to make things better for yourself. It's like buying gifts for other people, and spending on other people is so much easier than spending on yourself. Like, I would sit there contemplating over a $25 purchase for myself, but when it came to buying a gift for a friend or whatever, it was like 10 times easier. I think this is what makes a lot of immigrant children really good at school and overachieve in life in general. Partially from having immigrant parents in general, but also from that guilt that would never really go away. Every ounce of validation in the form of achievements is a sigh of relief. That's actually crazy. Like, you have all these achievements that others less driven would kill to have, and all you get out of it is just relief. A relief that says, okay, at least I'm not wasting my parents' time and effort that they put into me. While this constant stress does produce a lot of academic weapons, I would argue that in the long term, it does more harm than good. You would think that what harm could possibly be done by this? These kids are setting themselves up for success one way or another. Like, who cares if it comes from a place of guilt? But if you look at the complete image, when these kids grow old and have children of their own, why is it that they don't want their children to feel the same? Hey, if it worked for you, surely it would work for your children. The answer to that is both yes and no. Yeah, your children would appreciate your hard work and try to embody that mindset in their lives. However, would they feel completely free doing that? The whole point of your parents working hard was to give you freedom. But this whole time, this freedom was just a facade because you were being aware of what was happening behind the scenes. You can no longer just sit there and enjoy the fairy tale. You thought you were making the choices yourself, but they were actually just being made for you by your subconscious. You've never truly felt being free, and that is the dilemma. So where do we go from here? Most people never climb out of the achievement validation cycle. It starts from school, then goes into career choices, and pretty much spreads into every metric of life. Sooner or later, you start to confuse quality of life with arbitrary numbers like how much money you have or even the postcode of your address. It's either that or they never actually do anything about the guilt and never achieve anything. The sweet spot is in the middle. And not just that, it is actually dependent on your ability to see the flaws of your parents. What? Yeah, that's right. If you continue to put your parents on a pedestal and imagine them to be this flawless human being, you'll never break out of the cycle. You must grow to a level of maturity where you can see your parents' flaws. At least this way, you can accept your own flaws. For some, this happens naturally. For others, it doesn't. I did this by realizing that my dad, even though he put in all this hard work and effort for me and my brother, he actually came to Australia to buy a bunch of land back home. And his life, even after 20 years living abroad, still circulates around the happenings back home. Realizing this and seeing how much time and energy he wastes stressing over shit he has no control over gave me a sigh of relief. It made me realize that, okay, if I fuck up a little bit, it wouldn't be the end of the world because my happiness isn't all that's occupying my parents' minds. This is the very opposite of what you've been envisioning since you were a child, basically, because our parents are our first idols. It's what they mean when they say you should never meet your heroes, because when you do, you see all their flaws. In this case, you want to see the flaws. And that's it. You'll have a much easier time accepting yourself and enjoying your life without all that guilt, which is how it's supposed to be honest. And also how your parents would actually want you to live your life. Except that no one ever tells you what I just did.